You know, between all the re-releases, remakes, remasters, ports, and collections the gaming industry is pumping out in hopes of getting you to buy and rebuy the same games over and over again,
it's spending time! Seriously though, you would think a series like Power Rangers, which has been on the air for over 20 years, is still making awesome toys, would be a prime candidate. I mean, they have a lot of games. And you know what? They're actually pretty good. You could call it the Mighty Morphin Collection.
Okay, correction. Most of these are good games. But still, released under the same title as the show they're based on, there's actually 5 very different games, all titled Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. One on Game Boy, Game Gear, Genesis, Sega CD, and of course, the Super Nintendo, which is the one we'll be focusing on today. Released in 1994, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is a very simple but fun action platform game that is loosely based on the first season of the show. Rita Repulsa's big, floating head is staring at the planet menacingly, and it's up to our heroes to stop her. Seriously though, this one screen is as much story or dialogue as this game is going to give you. So if you aren't familiar with the source material, you probably won't know what's going on. But to be fair, I'm not so sure the developers ever saw the show either, and I figure that if the show really expected us to believe that these are teenagers with attitude, a major stretch in both of those words,
Oh my god, just look at all that attitude!
then I guess there's no real reason we can't suspend our disbelief here, especially since it's for the betterment of the gameplay. But we'll get into that in one moment. First, we gotta pick our ranger.
Hold on. Billy, Kimberly, Zach, Trini, Jason. Am I forgetting someone?
Yeah, I really feel like the game has left someone really important out. Someone essential to the story, who was really popular and made a massive impact on the series, and would be a mainstay for multiple seasons of the show. Of course, I know it is. So obvious. Alpha 5. Yeah, for some reason, Tommy Oliver as the Green Ranger is exclusive to the Sega games.
What Nintendo?
But to be fair, it wouldn't really matter here anyway, as every character plays exactly the same, with each character sporting a standard attack, crouch attack, 2 jump attacks, and generic special, which is a shame considering how different each character looks. The first 5 stages of the game are broken up into 2 segments, with the first half having you play as the Rangers in their civilian forms, and they actually look quite good, representing the more stereotypical character archetypes the Rangers had when the series first started. And oh boy, did they ever lean into that with some of these designs. Zach is always getting his groove on, and just... Oh, poor Billy. Clearly, they never saw him in the show. Though his morph form begs to differ. Sadly, all of the characters' morph forms are clearly just recolors of the Red Ranger, in both look and animations, which is a shame.
Come on, this is how the Pink Ranger's supposed to look!
Also, I gotta note that some of these animations are kind of funky. What's with Jason's legs? But still, nitpicks aside, Power Rangers actually looks pretty good with a bright and colorful cartoony vibe to it, which definitely plays to the more kid-friendly aspect of the show and easier difficulty of the game. Though while the game does look good, a minor issue with the game is that it doesn't actually look like a Power Rangers game. I swear, I really think the game started out as something else entirely, before they slapped the Power Rangers aesthetic all over it. This is what I was talking about earlier with the suspension of disbelief. Because while the game does appear to be on point at first, with the Rangers going toe-to-toe with a never-ending supply of putty patrollers, fans of the show will begin to notice a lot of oddities. From simple things like putties using knives and guns, to floating robots that shoot electricity. And I certainly don't remember the Rangers ever swimming through sewers, or scaling towers, exploring evil laboratories, or bringing down the freaking Death Star?
Use the Force.
Really, none of these levels are from the show. But like I said earlier, that's for the sake of the gameplay, so it's really not that bad. All of these different stages are utilized in ways to help break up the gameplay and help keep the game from growing stale, because most of the stages work like this. The first half of the stage, you are the Ranger outside of their suit. You traverse the stage from left to right, smacking down baddies one after another. And admittedly, fighting the same foes just with different amounts of health does start to wear thin by the end of the game. But just as soon as you reach the halfway point of the stage, you morph. This is where things take a turn. Sure, you still fight the same baddies, but after the first stage, platforming elements start getting thrown in, like a Batman-style wall jump. I'm Bat Ranger. Which, funny enough, could become a thing at some point. I mean, these happened. Just saying. Alright, focusing back up, it breaks away from the simple, constant fighting, which isn't very deep, mind you, with stuff like swimming through sewers, dodging giant lasers, and just general platforming that helps keep the game feeling fresh throughout its short hour-long run. And the music is no slouch in that department either. Classic Power Rangers is well known for its rockin' soundtrack, and this game delivers, with fun upbeat tunes that feel like they were lifted straight from the original show. I mean, just listen to that 16-bit theme song.
Of course, it's not the best iteration. That honor actually belongs to the Fighting Edition.
And not to be a douche or anything, but I do need to mention that the music isn't actually lifted from the show. It just feels like it was. Though personally, and maybe this is just my old man nostalgia talking, but I definitely like the show's tunes more, which were in the Sega movie game. But still, the soundtrack is very cool and very fitting for a Power Rangers beatdown. Though, as I'm sure most Ranger veterans well know, fights in the show aren't broken up into just the two segments I mentioned earlier, the civilian fights and the Ranger fights. There's a third. It's time to bust out the giant robots. Yes! However, it's not quite like how it is in the show, where there, after the Rangers have firmly handed the monsters their asses, they go all Godzilla on the team before getting a repeat performance. In this game, however, the Megazord battles are saved for the last two stages of the game, which includes the final boss battle, where the game morphs from a platform brawler into a fighting game. But Power Rangers Fighting Edition, this is not. In fact, it's about as bare bones a fighter as can be, with a medium strike, low strike, respective blocks, and a super move that auto charges. And that's it. And I mean, it's not bad, but being honest here, the Game Gear games are deeper, and they have less buttons. But what makes it interesting though, is the difficulty. Yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is how Power Rangers SNES is a very easy game. And rightfully so. It's a kid's game. That is, until you reach the final boss, and he pulls the classic, "This isn't even my final form!" And the difficulty spikes so much that Robot Masters would fill their stages with it if they could. Ah, poor Rock. But still, with passwords and infinite continues, and a difficulty spike that's coming from being incredibly easy, it shouldn't deter too many. Though I bet it was quite the Everest for some kids growing up. And really though, it is one worth climbing. Power Rangers on SNES is a really good game. The graphics are fun, the music gets you pumped, and the gameplay is varied enough to keep things interesting until the end. And while the Power Rangers IP really isn't utilized all that well here, I still think the game was meant to be something else entirely. Fans will still enjoy it, as well as non-fans. And aside from that odd difficulty spike at the end, the only real issues the game has is that it's pretty short, and the only way to play it outside of becoming a Gokaiger is to get a physical cart. I'd say that at only an hour or so of gameplay, I wouldn't spend more than $15 on this one. But if you're a Power Rangers fan, enjoy action platformers, are a retro gamer, or just looking for a good game for more casual gamers or younger children, then this one is definitely worth checking out. And remember, may the power protect you. Hey there Ranger fans, I hope you enjoyed the video and thanks for sticking around this long. If you want to check out future videos, be sure to do all the YouTubey things like, subscribe, comment, blah blah blah. And once again, thanks for watching the video, and as always, never stop gaming.